It's a great delight to be able to connect to all of you for this important program centering on Indian book publishing scenario in 21st century. We are trying to look into all the major issues, aspects, perspectives as to how Indian publishing scenario is emerging, how it's evolving and developing into a great paradigm. When in 75th year of Indian independence, when we are kind of celebrating our kind of giant leap into 21st century, I think it's very important that we also track our progress as a knowledge economy. Knowledge economy, world may look at us as a consumer economy, but we are fundamentally as a civilization, as a idea producing nation. Our book publishing scenario is very important. And to talk about the finer dimensions of today's topic, we have the most suitable person with us for this discussion. May I briefly introduce you to Pranav Gupta. Pranav Gupta ji is the managing director of print publications. He is the joint secretary to Federation of Indian Publishers, and he is the elected executive committee member of Indian Publishing Association, which is there in Geneva. So he's representing the country at the national level, at the international level. He's a young man and with lots of ideas, and it will be very meaningful to take this discussion forward on this. All of you know that this program has been running for the last 10 years. This has a component where we introduce our students to all the aspects of publishing. We all think that book is just you go to a bookshop and buy something. No, it's when the idea is conceived in the mind of an author, and from that onwards, there are various steps, like pre-press, and we'll talk about that in a big way. So I think that, this course which talks about all the knowledge points, all the skill points has been successful, and we have got enormous support from Federation of Indian Publishers, and Pranav Gupta ji represents that, so it will be good to kind of talk to him about that. You are welcome to other studios. We think that it will be meaningful, if we start off with a broad discussion on how Indian publishing scenario has emerged 21st century, historically as well as in the contemporary times.
The role of Indian authors and publishers has been immensely accepted now globally. We did a India Book Market report in collaboration with Nielsen Book Data, which is one of the major research-based companies based out of UK and having regional offices across the globe. And we found out that as on date, India is the world's third largest book publishing nation in the world.
Wonderful.
India is the second largest English language book publishing nation in the world, just after the United States. If I talk about the publishing landscape in the education spectrum, we are the highest student enrollment ratio, if I talk about, is now in India. We are the largest capacity of having the student enrollment ratio both in the schools and in the higher education segment, if we talk about. So the market has expanded a lot, and there are various verticals to the publishing which people never used to understand. See, publishing, if we talk about in the general context, a lot of people, the common man, feels it's more of a printing.
Yes.
Printing is just a small portion of what we do in the publishing. There are many aspects of publishing. Publishing is a development of an idea, a development of a concept, a development of thought, which is produced in a form of a content. Now, this content can be published in various formats. Book is one of the formats to it.
Absolutely.
Today, we talk about digital books. Today, the world is moving towards audiobooks. Today, OTT series, movies are being made out of books. So it is we as the publishing industry is develop the book, develop the content, and then we can monetize into different ways. So if we see the growth, what India has done in the last 75 years, being the third largest book publishing nation in the world and second largest in the English language publishing, I think so India has achieved a great success globally.
Absolutely. There used to be a time when we used to think about books, and we used to think about, like, relying on some foreign kind of company to come. And now, and there used to be kind of difference between Indian books and the foreign books. Now, in terms of technology, in terms of expertise, it's that gap has almost finished. No.
Yes, in fact, I would say if we look at the statistics, India exports more than 1.5 times what it imports. And 25 years or 30 years back, it was not the same scenario. So situation has really changed. If we look at there are many verticals to it. If we see at the publishing, one of this is pre-press services. So I can today say majority of the pre-press work, the typesetting, layouting, designing, illustration, editing, copy editing, proofreading work, entire work from the Western world is now being outsourced to India. When it comes to printing, especially now, even the post-COVID scenario, there were countries like China or Malaysia, Taiwan, they were doing a lot of printing for the West. That business has now come down to India. So both in terms of pre-press, printing, India is doing enormously well. Then also, if I look at the post-press segment, that is the digital marketing, warehousing, logistics, India is doing extremely well in that as well.
Yes, this is so admirably put. Like, when we look at, in terms of world looks at us as a youth capital, no? So lots of young people are also watching this program, no? How do you, kind of present this sector as an opportunity, like, the schooling and college life, how should they, in fact, they look at the publishing world, as a career opportunity, as an employment opportunity. I told you the context. We have a program running in. Do you think that now that the stage is ready, where they can identify with publishing as a very potential employment option?
Publishing industry is bound to grow. See, with the consumption of content, as I said, publishing industry primarily produces its content, and development of content can be monetized into various verticals, whether it is in the format of book, audiobooks, ebooks, or OTT. So I would say there is an immense opportunity for the youth to look publishing industry as a lucrative one. Now, there are many specific fields within the publishing industry which one can identify. It could be right from the pre-press services. It could be, somebody wants to have a passion for writing, content writing, editorial services. There's a lot of opportunity for the individuals to look into the designing segment. And then there are a lot of opportunities in the marketing, sales. So I would say there is no end. And learning is something which is never ending. So I would say there is a complete knowledge, complete opportunity for the youth to look publishing industry as a lucrative one.
Yeah, this is very important. Like, a person from the industry is saying that there is no end to kind of options, and all our students and all our youth in general can kind of bank upon this argument that this industry is flourishing. This, and in all departments, there are multiple, like, right from, say, when a manuscript arrives in the publishing house, there's lots of work. So, like, do you think that after the digital kind of intervention, when everything is moving on, like in the digital domain, it is going to affect the publishing industry, like employment opportunities would go down?
No, I don't think so that the employment opportunities will go down. In fact, the more the digitization is going to happen, we need more of skilled people to come into this process and look at the process of doing digitization of books. See, books are something, there are many books which are very relevant in today's context and will always remain relevant, which may even have got published 200 years back or 150 years back or 100 years back. Because the content, there are certain, every country has to bang upon their history, their ideology, our culture. Everything comes from the way of books only. And I would say digitization will only help the entire process, and there's a lot of opportunity to people to look into this industry. And when we talk about digitization, in many ways, certain people, they come up and they say, now the technology with this ebooks, everything is coming in, the physical books will go away. I would say nothing is going to go away. Physical books are going to stay. They are going to here to stay, and they are here to grow.
Here to grow, yes.
See, the various formats of the books, they really complement each other. If you see sometimes what happened, if you see the example of when the Harry Potter movie came in, if you see the Nielsen Bookscan data at that point of time, the sales of the Harry Potter books went
Went
up.
very
When
interesting.
you
Very
when you
interesting.
saw the Game of Thrones movie came in, the sale of the book went up. So it is the various formats of the books which complement each other. And I don't see we need to divide a line between print versus digital or any other format. I would say each format supports each other.
Yes. This is important, like in the sense that, if we have the right kind of attitude, aptitude, skill sets, I mean, then the floodgates are open. I mean, we can always make a very substantial impact through our expertise. And the way, Pranavji, you are saying that India being a civilizational entity, India being a kind of land of knowledge, it is all the more important that we, kind of invest even more in this domain, so that our role as a knowledge economy, our role as a kind of path showing mechanism to the rest of the world, becomes more visible. So yes, I think that, I thought that I will ask you for the benefit of all the viewers who have joined in, like, do you think that India is ready to make its like this valid claim in the world publishing scenario, like, being a largest democracy, being, a youth capital, and the kind of presence that we have in the publishing domain? Are we there in a significant way?
So if we look at the history 50 years back or 60 years back, the GDP or the economic size of the General Motors was bigger than the Indian economy. India has grown massively. And if we see one of the largest democracies of the world, fifth largest economy of the world, India has performed really well in different sectors.
Yes.
Today, if we take the example of banks, one of the top banks like ICICI Bank or HDFC Bank or State Bank of India are now counted as the world's top 10, 20 or 30 banks. Similarly, like we have the automobile companies, we have the steel companies, the software companies, which are considered among the top 10 globally. When it comes to publishing, we are the third largest, no doubt about. When we talk, when I refer here third largest, collectively as the size of the industry. But yes, India is gonna be a center stage in the next 25 years in the publishing industry, and I would also say the responsibility lies upon us as an industry. It is we as an industry who really needs to perform well at the global level. We are the most competitive producers of everything. We are the largest market in terms of consuming the content. So I would say India has a great opportunity, and I would say why we should wait for next 25 years or 20 years. In next 10 years, I would like to see some Indian company among the top 50 publishers of the world, and there's a great opportunity. The stage is all set for it.
Yes, there's a great opportunity, there is a great possibility, and in fact, all of us have to come together to make that as a tangible, feasible, and achievable idea. Yes, and I think that, when we talk about publishing, when we talk about all the aspects of publishing, I think that there is a natural requirement, need from the side of academia industry collaboration. You see, if you need, say, young people and future generation to come in, you need them to be trained. You need academia to come up with more research-based arguments, and kind of from that skill enhancement perspective. So Pranav Gupta ji, how do you see this? How industry and like there is already a kind of understanding between Federation of Indian Publishers and Indira Gandhi National Open University. How do we kind of make this count even more? I mean, at what more provisions would you suggest, that how this collaboration, this understanding, this relationship has to grow even bigger?
See, the collaboration between the academia and if I talk about the academia and the industry, is of immense importance. Why? Because the way we are moving ahead and with so much of technological advancement. Earlier we were only talking about the technology. Now in technology also we talk about artificial intelligence. So there are certain skill sets which are very unique, and there are skill sets which needs at every particular gap of time it needs certain revision. So collaboration between the academia and the industry, not only for the publishing industry, I would say in today's time, in fact this kind of collaboration is required in almost every industry. You need to revise your skill set, because in every few years there is something new which comes in. And people get really, what happens is academically, once we are done with our graduation or the post graduation, people are off from the academia.
You're right.
But here the collaboration between the academia and the industry is of immense importance. And I would say, like, way the FIP and IGNOU has collaborated together from last many years, this needs to go beyond that, and we need to create some certain specialized professional courses also, probably a short-term courses where we talk about the digitization. There are various verticals to it, and where we can have super speciality short-term courses for the students, and as well as for the industry professionals who are already working in the industry. Probably somebody doing a sales or marketing job from last 10 to 15 years, he or she may not be very good at doing a digital marketing for their firm. So certain kind of integration at different levels is definitely required and need of the hour.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very important. I thought that I will generate some inputs from you about, this in the context of all the startups that we are saying, youths coming up with a sense of entrepreneurial spirit and kind of taking up, the responsibility, owning the publishing domain. So how do you think that, would you like to suggest some startup options where, all the listeners, viewers can kind of capitalize on that?
See, there are many startups already working now in the publishing industry, and I would say there is enough appetite, I would say, that you should have to come up with things. There are a lot of pre-press companies who have come up. In printing vertical, I would say there's a huge demand for the print on demand. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of opportunity for the pre-press. Startups can also look at integrating AI and developing illustrations and the graphics for the industry, for the publishers. There's a lot of opportunity again with the if we can look at the tech startups doing a lot of work for the pre-press services, layouting, designing the books. So there are many opportunities. Also, there has been in recent couple of years, there has been many startups who have started doing self-publishing companies.
Wonderful.
Because self-publishing has become a great model of monetization, because authors, they want to because every established publishing house doesn't want to give an opportunity to a debutant author or something. So self-publishing itself is becoming a very strong vertical within the publishing domain.
There are so many ideas in that. Yes, so this is very important, I think. So I think this point that it's about ideas, it's about ability to kind of experiment, and it's about kind of tendency and a kind of with a sense of commitment and dedication to take risks. So that is very important for all our people who are willing to kind of make a entry into this domain. So this is very important. Next thing that I would like to discuss, like we are into 75th year of publishing situation, and that comes with this idea of our independence also, and you have published a very important document in that. Could you talk about that?
So during this year, the Federation of Indian Publishers initiated two very important projects. One was the creation of book 75 Years of Book Publishing in India, which was edited by one of the veteran publishers of the Indian publishing industry, Shri Ashok K. Ghosh. Under his leadership and mentorship, the entire book has been conceptualized, and book has got articles from the various veterans of the industry, both nationally and internationally. So book talks about the publishing scenario in Indian languages. The 75th year book, it talks about publishing scenario in almost 19 languages, English plus the other Indian regional languages.
Wonderful.
Then it also talks about the socio-cultural aspects, what the publishing industry has. The diverse areas like the children book publishing, science and technology, medical publishing, a test prep has been a very new market in last couple of years. Then we also talk about is the technical aspects in the publishing, how the technology is playing, edtech companies coming into publishing domain. Then we have printing overview, and then we have the organizational aspects. The important organizations we talk about is the International Publishers Association, Indian Reprographic Rights Organization, National Book Trust. We have publication division. So the book is something like a granth, I would say.
Yes.
It's a I would say a Bible, a granth, which has been conceptualized, created, and it is of immense use, I would say, especially for the students of our IGNOU book publishing course. If they want to know really more about the publishing industry with a lens eye view, I would say they must subscribe this book and do read about, because they will hear from the really the veterans of the industry. Also, the book talks about the sustainable development goals. See, 2005 UNESCO, where India was also one of the partner to the Treaty of Sustainable Development Goals. And if I specifically talk about the Sustainable Development Goal 4, which is SDG 4, we refer to always as quality education. So that is one important area, sustainability and the protecting the environment, because when we often talk about sustainability is always referred in the context of environment, but that there are many other sustainable practices which we as an independent industry we need to adopt and the best interest of the world.
Yes, this is very important, and you have made a very valid point that this, in 75 years we need to kind of, India being a land of, such great, even I would say maddening diversity. So we need to bring in all those perspectives, all those ideas, and multiple languages, and regional publishing has come up in a big way. So if we kind of familiarize ourselves with that narrative, 75 years of Indian publishing, that's very important. That will be a ready resource for us students.
Yeah, and another initiative what the Federation of Indian Publishers did during the celebration of 75 years of book publishing in India was we created in collaboration with Nielsen Book Data, we created a report called India Book Market Report 2022. The special feature about this report is it not only talks about the market size of the industry, it also talks about the contribution of Indian publishing industry to its economy. This is one of its unique kind of report which has happened, and I'm very happy to report that from FIP that if after the launch of the report we could see that Indian publishing industry contributes 0.08% to the GDP of the country, which is of immense use. And out of 837 employed youth in India, 1% falls from the publishing industry.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Yes.
And if we use the multiplier effect in the economic context,
yes,
if the industry grows by 1 billion rupee, it adds into 62 job opportunities. And the few highlights of the report would I would like to share with the students and the audience here would be that if we look at the total number of publishers in India, they are now 24,000 plus. There are more than, if I talk about, there are more than when we talk about the Indian publishing industry, it's broadly can be divided into three segments: school education, higher education, and the trade publishing.
yes.
So school education is almost 50% of the complete market size. 46% comes out to be the higher education, and 4% falls the trade publishing.
Yes, this is, you have put in all data for us, and this is very important. Another thing that I thought needs to be discussed is that government support is very crucial. As industry, as academia, we rely on some enabling provisions from the government side. Do you think that there is a scope where we can expect something more tangible from the government side? Do you think that if I may frame it a little more sharply, do you think that all the industry related benefits have been given to publishing world in that sense?
In my individual opinion, I would say that there has not been enough support to the Indian publishing industry at the moment. The industry from last 75 years has sustained on its own during the thick and thin. There are many issues for the Indian publishing industry to look at it. One of the major issues for the industry at the moment is the piracy and the copyright issues. We need a comprehensive revision under the Indian Copyright Act. We all know about the Delhi University photocopy case, how it falled back upon the publishers. And so there is, under the Indian Copyright Act, it talks about the fair use. So fair use needs to be defined properly in today's context, how it is going to happen. Section 52(1)(I), specifically which deals with the fair use, needs a broad revision. So, and when the technology has come in, during I would like to share an example with you. When we were all under the lockdown, and these messengers apps like WhatsApp, Facebook, or Telegram, they were aggressively being promoted, and lot of I could see there were dump of scanned illegal piracy was happening. Scanned dump of various books were being circulated without anyone's consent or any provision. So
Yes.
copyright is one of the, I would say, a parallel economy towards the Indian publishing industry. That is one major issue for us, for which we need a comprehensive revision. We at Federation of Indian Publishers has made multiple representations before the government of India and before the Parliamentary Standing Committee, which was set up by the Lok Sabha, and we made the representation over there. Certain suggestions has been accepted and they have been put before the recommendations. Now we'll see the report has been tabled before the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, how it takes forward. Another key issue for the industry is the GST. Because GST is something which is being enforced upon all the activities what we primarily use for the publishing, whether it is printing of the book, procuring of paper, designing, pre-press services, and there is no output to it. So we publishers, books are exempted under the GST, so there is a lot of input cost for us. We can't take the benefit of input credit.
Yes.
So these are two major issues, I would say, from the industry. We need to look at it.
Yes, I think this is important that, yes, I mean, when I talk to students and when I go to different regions, they say that, sir, don't talk about copyright, talk about right to copy, because there are, material reasons for that. Yes, so you have raised very important points. So, because we are now in the last phase, and I thought that if in a broad view, if you would like to say something to our students as a word of advice, encouragement, and prescription.
See, I would say that for the copyright, I would say a very strong emphasis is that, I would like to make an appeal to all students. See, we all need to understand that our civilization has been enriched and has been preserved, and we have been knowing about our civilization because of the books. If writers, they are not going to be protected under the copyright, then how shall we know tomorrow that who we were?
Yes.
So copyright is, I would say, copyright is an engine of progress and success for the entire nation. And each thought, each idea needs to be respected. It can't be simply copied.
Wonderful, wonderful. Like, I think that on this note, that Indian publishing has come up in a big way. We have made a very big progress. And if we look back, from 1947, and there are enormous potential employment opportunities for our youth, and let's capitalize on that. We would like to thank our guest, our expert for today, Pranav Gupta ji. We would like to say, invite everyone to become this part of this publishing journey, this publishing phenomena that is taking place, and contribute to it in a big way. Thank you very much.